Voices Beyond Pages. This is Beren and Luthien by J.R.R. Tolkien. A second extract from the Lay of Leithian. I give now a further passage of the Lay of Leithian, telling the story that has just been given in its very compressed form in the Quenta no Dorinwa. I take up the poem where the siege of Angband was ended in what was later called the Battle of Sudden Flame. According to the dates that my father wrote on the manuscript, the whole passage was composed in March to April of 1928. At line 246, Canto 6 of the lay ends and Canto 7 begins. An end there came when fortune turned, and flames of Morgoth's vengeance burned, and all the might which he prepared in secret in his fastness fled, and poured across the thirsty plain, and armies black were in his train. The leaguer of Angband Morgoth broke, his enemies in fire and smoke were scattered, and the orcs there slew, until the blade like dew dripped from each cruel and crooked blade. Then Barahir the bold did aid, with mighty spear, with shield and men, Felagund wounded to the fen, escaping, there they bound their troth, and Felagund deeply swore an oath of friendship to his kin and seed, of love and succour in time of need. But there of Finron's children four were Angrod slain and proud Egnor. Felagund and Orodreth then gathered the remnant of their men, their maidens and their children fair, forsaking war they made their lair, and cavernous hold far in the south. On Narog's towering bank its mouth was open which they hidden veiled, and mighty doors that unsailed till Turin's day stood vast and grim, they built by trees o'ershadowed dim, and with them dwelt a long time there Curufin and Celagorm the fair, and a mighty folk grew neath their hands in Narog's secret halls and lands. Thus Felagund in Nargothrond still reigned, a hidden king whose bond was sworn to Barahir the bold, and now his son through forests cold wandered alone as in a dream. Isgaldwin's dark and shrouded stream he followed till its waters frore were joined to Syrian hoar. Pale silver water wide and free, rolling in splendour to the sea. Now Beren came unto the pools, wide shallow meres, where Syrian cools, his gathered tide neath the stars, ere chafed and sundered by the bars of reedy banks, a mighty fen, he feeds and drenches, plunging then into vast chasms underground, where many miles his way is wound. Umboth Muilin twilight meres, those great wide waters grey as tears, the Elves then named, through driving rain, from thence across the guarded plain, the hills of the hunters Beren saw, with bare tops bitten, bleak and raw, by western winds, but in the mist of streaming rains that flashed and hissed, into the meres he knew there lay, beneath those hills, the cloven way of Narog, and the watchful halls of Felagund beside the falls, of Ingwil tumbling from the wold. An everlasting watch they hold, the gnomes of Nargothrond renowned, and every hill is tower-crowned, where wardens sleepless peer and gaze, guarding the plain and all the ways, between Narog swift and Syrian pale, and archers whose arrows never fail. Those range the woods and secret kill all who creep thither gainst their will. Yet now he thrusts into that land, bearing the gleaming ring on hand of Felagund, and oft doth cry, "Here comes no wandering orc or spy, but Beren, son of Barahir, who once to Felagund was dear. So ere he reached the eastward shore of Narog, that doth foam and roar, o'er boulders black, those archers green, came round him when the ring was seen. They bowed before him, though his plight was poor and beggarly. Then by night they led him northward, for no ford nor bridge was built where Narog poured before the gates of Nargothrond, and friend nor foe might pass beyond. To northward, where that stream yet young more slender flowed, below the tongue of foam-splashed land that Ginglith pens when her grief golden torrent ends, and joins the Narog. There they wade, now swiftest journey thence they made to Nargothrond's sheer terraces and dim gigantic palaces. They came beneath a sickle moon to doors there darkly hung and hewn, with posts and lintels of ponderous stone, and timbers huge now open thrown, were gaping gates, and in they strode where Felagund on throne abode. Fair were the words of Narog's king to Beren and his wandering, and all his feuds and bitter wars recounted soon behind closed doors. They sat while Beren told his tale of Doriath, and words him fail, recalling Luthien dancing fair with wild white roses in her hair, remembering her elven voice that rung while stars in twilight round her hung. He spake of Thingol's marvellous halls, by enchantment lit where fountain falls, and ever the nightingale doth sing to Melian and to her king. The quest he told that Thingol laid in scorn on him, how for love of maid more fair than ever was born to men of Tunuviel of Luthien. He must essay the burning waste, and doubtless death and torment taste. This Felagund in wonder heard, and heavily spoke at last this word: It seems that Thingol doth desire thy death. The everlasting fire of those enchanted jewels all know is cursed with an oath of endless woe, and Fëanor's sons, alone by right, are lords and masters of their light. He cannot hope within his hoard to keep this gem, nor is he lord of all the folk of Elfiness. And yet thou sayest, for nothing less, can thy return to Doriath be purchased? Many a dreadful path, in sooth, there lies before thy feet, and after Morgoth still a fleet, untiring hate, as I know well, would hunt thee from heaven unto hell. Fëanor's sons would, if they could, slay thee, or ever thou reached his wood, or laid in Thingol's lap thy fire, or gained at least thy sweet desire. Lo, Celagorm and Curufin here dwell this very realm within, and even though I, Finrod's son, am king, a mighty power have won, and many of their own folk lead friendship to me in every need. Yet they have shown but much, I fear, that to Beren, son of Barahir, mercy or love they will not show, if once thy dreadful quest they know. True words he spoke, for when the king to all his people told this thing, and spake of the oath to Barahir, and how that mortal shield and spear had saved them from Morgoth and from woe on northern battlefields long ago, then many were kindled in their hearts once more to battle, but up there starts amid the throng and loudly cries, for hearing one with flaming eyes, proud Celagorm with gleaming hair and shining sword. Then all men stare upon his stern unyielding face, and a great hush falls upon that place. Be he friend or foe, or demon wild, of Morgoth, elf or mortal child, or any that here on earth may dwell, no law nor love nor league of hell, no might of gods, no binding spell, shall defend him from hatred fell, of Fëanor's sons, whoso take and steal, or finding keep a Silmaril. Those we alone do claim by right, our thrice enchanted jewels bright. Many wild and potent words he spoke, and as before in tune awoke his father's voice their hearts to fire. So now dark fear and brooding ire he cast on them, foreboding war of friend with friend and pools of gore. Their minds imagined lying red in Nargothrond about the dead, in Narog's host with Beren go, or haply battle ruin and woe. In Doriath, where great Thingol reigned, if Fëanor's fatal jewel he gained, and even such as were most true to Felagund his oath did rue, and thought with terror and despair of seeking Morgoth in his lair. With force or guile this Curufin, when his brother ceased, did then begin more to impress upon their minds, and such a spell he on them binds. Then never again till Durin's day would Gnome of Narog in array of open battle go to war, with secrecy, ambush, spies, and lore, of wizardry with silent leaguer, of wild things wary, watchful, eager, of phantom hunters, venomed darts, and unseen stealthy creeping arts, with padding hatred that its prey, with feet of velvet all the day, followed remorseless out of sight, and slew it unawares at night. Thus they defended Nargothrond, and forgot their kin and solemn bond, for dread of Morgoth that the art of Curufin set within their heart. So would they not that angry day King Felagund their lord obey, but sullen murmured that Finrod, nor yet his son were as a god. Then Felagund took off his crown, and at his feet he cast it down, the helm of Nargothrond. Yours ye may break, but I my bond must keep, and kingdom here forsake. If hearts here were that did not quake, or that to Finron's son were true, then I at least should find a few to go with me, not like a poor, rejected beggar, scorn endure, turn from my gates to leave my town, my people and my realm and crown. Hearing these words there swiftly stood beside him 10 tried warriors good, men of his house who had ever fought, wherever his banners had been brought. One stooped and lifted up his crown, and said, O king, to leave this town is now our fate, but not to lose thy rightful lordship. Thou shalt choose one to be steward in thy stead, then Felagund upon the head of Orodreth set it. Brother mine, till I return this crown is thine. Then Celegorm no more would stay, and Curufin smiled and turned away. Thus 12 alone there ventured forth from Nargothrond unto the north. They turned their silent secret way, and vanished in the fading day. No trumpet sounds, no voice there sings, as robed in mail of cunning rings. Now black and dark with helmets grey, and sombre cloaks they steal away. Far journeying Narod's leaping course they followed, till they found his source, the flickering falls, whose freshets sheer a glimmering goblet, glassy clear, with crystal waters fill that shake, and quiver down from Ivrine's lake. From Ivrine's mere, that mirrors dim the pallid faces bare and grim of shadowy mountains neath the moon. Now far beyond the realm immune from orc and demon and the dread of Morgoth's might their ways had led. In woods o'ershadowed by the heights they watched and waited many nights, till on a time when hurrying cloud did moon and constellation shroud, and winds of autumn's wild beginning sound in the boughs, and leaves went spinning. Down the dark eddies rustling soft they heard a murmur hoarsely waft. From far a croaking laughter coming, now louder. Now they heard the drumming of hideous stamping feet that tramp the weary earth, then many a lamp of sullen red they saw draw near, swinging and glistening on spear and scimitar there hidden nigh. They saw a band of orcs go by, with goblin faces swart and foul. Bats were about them, and the owl. The ghostly, forsaken nightbird cried. From trees above the voices died. The laughter, like clash of stone and steel, passed and faded at their heel. The elves and Beren crept more soft than foes stealing through a croft, in search of prey, thus to the camp, lit by flickering fire and lamp. They stole and counted sitting there, full 30 orcs in the red flare of burning wood. Without a sound, they, one by one, stood silent round, each in the shadow of a tree, each slowly, grimly, secretly, bent then his bow and drew the string. Hark! How they sudden twang and sing when Felagund lets forth a cry, and 12 orcs sudden fall and die. Then forth they leaping, casting their bows, out their bright swords and swift their blows. The stricken orcs now shriek and yell at lost things deep in lightless hell. Battle there is beneath the trees, bitter and swift, but no orc flees. There left there lies that wandering band, and stayed no more the sorrowing land, with rape and murder, yet no song of joy or triumph over wrong. The elves there sang, in peril sore they were, for never alone to war. So small an orc band went they knew, swiftly the raiment off they drew, and cast the corpses in a pit. This desperate council had the wit of Felagund for them devised, as orcs his comrades he disguised. The poisoned spears, the bows of horn, the crooked swords their foes had borne, they took, and loathing each him clad in Angband's raiment, foul and sad, they smeared their hands and faces fair with pigment dark, the matted hair, all lank and black from goblin head they shore, and joined it thread by thread with gnomish skill, as each one leers at each dismayed, about his ears he hangs it noisome, shuddering. Then Felagund a spell did sing, of changing and of shifting shape. Their ears grew hideous and agape, their mouths did start, and like a fang each tooth became, as slow as he sang. Their gnomish raiment then they hid, and one by one behind him slid, behind a foul and goblin thing that once was elven fair and king. Northward they went, and orcs they met, who passed, nor did their going let, but hailed them in greeting, and more bold they grew as past the long miles rolled. At length they came, with wary feet, beyond Beleriand. They found the fleet, young waters, rippling, silver pale as Sirium, hurrying through that vale, where tower Nuhuin, deadly night, the trackless forest pine-clad height, falls, dark forbidding, slowly down upon the east, while westward frown the northward bending mountains grey, and bar the westering light of day. An isled hill there stood alone amid the valley, like a stone, rolled from the mountains vast, when giants in tumult hurtled past. Around its feet the river looped, a stream divided, that it scooped the hanging edges into caves, there briefly shuddered Sirian's waves, and ran to other shores more clean. An elven watchtower had it been, and strong it was, and still was fair, but now did grim with menace stare, one way to pale Beleriand, and the other to that mournful land. Beyond the valley's northern mouth, thence could be glimpsed the fields of drouth, the dusty dunes, the desert wide, and further far could be descried the brooding cloud that hangs and lowers on Orodrim's thunderous towers. Now in that hill was the abode of one most evil, and the road that came from Beleriand thither came. He watched with sleepless eyes of flame. Men called him Thu, and as a god, in after days beneath his rod, bewildered, bowed to him, and made his ghastly temples in the shade. Not yet by men enthralled adored, now was he Morgoth's mightiest lord, master of wolves whose shivering howl forever echoed in the hills, and foul enchantments and dark sigildry did weave and wield. In Glamory that necromancer held his host of phantoms and of wandering ghosts, of misbegotten or spell-wrought monsters that about him thronged, working his bidding dark and vile, the werewolves of the Wizard's Isle. From Thu their coming was not hid, and though beneath the eaves they slid of the forest's gloomy hanging boughs, he saw them afar, and wolves did rouse. "Go, fetch me those sneaking orcs," he said, "that fare thus strangely as if in dread, and do not come, as all orcs use, and are commanded to bring me news of all their deeds to me, to Thu." From his tower he gazed, and in him grew suspicion and a brooding thought, waiting, leering, till they were brought. Now, ringed about with wolves they stand, and fear their doom. Alas, the land of Narog left behind, foreboding evil waits their mind, as downcast, halting, they must go, and cross the stony bridge of woe, to Wizard's Isle, and to the throne there fashioned of blood-darkened stone. "Where have ye been? What have ye seen? In elfiness and tears and distress, the fire blowing and the blood flowing, these have we seen, there have we been. 30 we slew, and their bodies threw in a dark pit. The ravens sit, and the owl cries where our swath lies. Come, tell me true, O Morgoth's thralls, what then in elfiness befalls? What of Nargothrond, who reigneth there? Into that realm did your feet dare? Only its borders did we dare. There reigns King Felagund the Fair. Then heard ye not that he is gone, that Celegorm sits his throne upon? That is not true. If he is gone, then Orodreth is thrown upon. Sharp your ears, swift have they got tidings of realms ye entered not. What are your names, O spearmen bold? Who your captain ye have not told? Nereb and Danielev and warriors 10, so we are called. And dark our den under the mountains, over the waste we march on an errand of need and haste. Bulldog, the captain, waits us there, where fires from under smoke and flare. Bulldog, I heard, was lately slain, warring on the borders of that domain, where robber Thingol and outlaw folk cringe and crawl beneath elm and oak. In drear Doriath, heard ye not then of that pretty fay of Luthien? Her body is fair, very white and fair. Morgoth would possess her in his lair. Bulldog he sent, but Bulldog was slain. Strange ye were not in Bulldog strain. Nereb looks fierce, his frown is grim. Little Luthien, what troubles him? Why laughs he not to think of his lord, crushing a maiden in his hoard? That foul should be what once was clean, that dark should be where light has been. Whom do ye serve, light or murk? Who is the maker of mightiest work? Who is the king of earthly kings, the greatest giver of golden rings? Who is the master of the wide earth? Who despoiled them of their mirth? The greedy gods repeat your vows. Orcs of Bauglir, do not bend your brows. Death to light, to law, to love. Cursed be moon and stars above. May darkness everlasting old, that waits outside and surges cold. Drown Manwë, Varda, and the sun. May all in hatred he begun, and all in evil ended be, in the moaning of the endless sea. But no true man nor elf yet free would ever speak that blasphemy. And Beren muttered, Who is Thu to hinder work that is to do? Him we serve not, nor to him owe obeisance, and now we would go. Thu laughed. Patience! Not very long shall ye bide, but first a song. I will sing to you, to ears intent. Then his flaming eyes he on them bent, and darkness black fell round them all. Only they saw, as through a pall of eddying smoke, those eyes profound in which their senses choked and drowned. He chanted a song of wizardry, of piercing, opening, of treachery, revealing, uncovering, betraying. Then sudden Felagund there swaying, sang in answer a song of staying, resisting, battling against power, of secrets kept, strength like a tower, and trust unbroken, freedom escape. Of changing and of shifting shape, of snares eluded, broken traps, the prison opening, the chain that snaps. Backwards and forwards swayed their song, reeling and foundering, as ever more strong Thu's chanting swelled. Felagund fought, and all the magic and might he brought of elfiness into his words. Softly, in the gloom, they heard the birds singing afar in Nargothrond, the sighing of the sea beyond the western world, on sand of pearls in elven land. Then the gloom gathered, darkness growing, in Valinor, the red blood flowing, beside the sea where the gnomes slew the foam riders, and stealing drew their white ships with their white sails. From lamplit havens the wind wails, the wolf howls, the ravens flee, the ice mutters in the mouths of the sea. The captives sad in Angband mourn, thunder rumbles, the fires burn, a vast smoke gushes out, a roar, and Felagund swoons upon the floor. Behold, they are in their own fair shape, fair-skinned, bright-eyed, no longer gape. Orc-like their mouths, and now they stand, betrayed into the wizard's hand. Thus came they, unhappy into woe, to dungeons no hope nor glimmer know, where chained in chains that eat the flesh, and woven in webs of strangling mesh, they lay forgotten in despair. Yet not all unavailing were the spells of Felagund, for Thu neither their names nor purpose knew. These much he pondered and bethought, and in their woeful chains them sought, and threatened all with dreadful death, if one would not, with traitor's breath, reveal this knowledge. Wolves should come and slow devour them one by one, before the others' eyes, and last should one alone be left aghast. Then in a place of horror hung, with anguish should his limbs be wrung, in the bowels of the earth be slow, endlessly, cruelly put to woe, and torment till he all declared. Even as he threatened, so it fared. From time to time, in the eyeless dark, two eyes would grow, and they would hark to frightful cries, and then a sound of rending, a slavering on the ground, and blood flowing they would smell, but none would yield, and none would tell. Here Canto 7 ends. I return now to the Quenta Silmarillion, and take it up from the words, "Long were they tortured in the dungeons of Thu, but none betrayed the other," with which the previous extract ends, on page 110. And as previously, I follow the Quenta Noldorinwa account with the vastly different passage in the Lay.